All right, Google Hangout says we're live. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to your UFC 199 pre-fight show presented by Crossings MMA. My name is Eddie Law. Of course, you guys know Jesse Ruvalcaba, always on the show with us. And today we have Dave. Dave, how about you introduce yourself, man? You got legit credentials, my friend. Go ahead. Let the people know who you are and how you got into the whole MMA game.
Yeah, pleasure to be on. Glad to get on, break this sweet card down. Yeah, I'm located here, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Do ESPN radio locally here. Work with the legend Henry T. Work underneath him, and I do all the MMA stuff for that network. Also been affiliated with the Fight Network. Guys at the Flow, Combat, Bloody Elbow people, they're my people. So definitely, try to contribute as much as I can and build these connections and break down these fights with everybody, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. And again, like you and I always talk on Twitter. You're in with those guys over at Jackson's, and there's actually quite a bit of Jackson's guys on this card. So it's gonna be I think you'll bring a different little insight into it. But let's kick it off right from the UFC Fight Pass prelims. These prelims do kick off obviously early because early prelims. 6:15 p.m. Eastern time, 3:15 p.m. Pacific time, with Polo Reyes from Mexico, El Toro, against Dong Hyun Kim, the maestro, not Dong Hyun, not Stun Gun, the different Dong Hyun Kim. Weirdly enough, also from South Korea. And from what I see, honestly, and you guys tell me, from what I see, very similar fighting style. Not afraid to get in the pocket. I forgot who his last fight was. I think when he fought Dominic Steele, he was like 3 inches away from the guy, throwing everything, eating shots, giving them back. Dong Hyun Kim is a fun guy to watch. Polo Reyes, on the other hand, is I'm still trying to figure him out. But Jesse, for this fight, what do you see happening? Who do you see winning this one?
Man, this one's a kind of a tough fight. Both of these guys like to throw pretty hard. The only reason I'm picking Dong Hyun Kim here, and I'm picking him by submission, which I think a lot of people, that's what they're looking at, is the reason that Polo Reyes, that's the only way he kind of loses, is his ground game just hasn't evolved at the level that his striking has evolved. His striking is pretty on point. Once he goes to the ground, he's kind of like a fish out of water. So I think the key here is going to be for Dong Hyun Kim to come in, throw his heavy hands, put him down, and then submit him. So that's how I see it's going to go. It's going to be a tough fight either way because both of these guys got pretty legit chins. I think it's just going to be who lands first, who lands hard, and what kind of submission defense Reyes puts up or does not.
Definitely, and you're talking right now. Both these guys have pretty good chins. What I see from Dong Hyun Kim is weird. He's got good footwork. Like from the get-go, he will switch stances on you. He'll show you different angles. He'll give you different looks from the get-go. He doesn't waste any time whatsoever. And so that's one of those things. And Polo Reyes is a striker. I mean, he's from Mexico. In Mexico, and I can tell you, everyone's a boxer. I mean, right away you go into boxing. It's not until recently that everyone goes right into MMA or jiu-jitsu or anything. Most guys go into boxing right away. And so he's the guy that's going to use his hands for the most part. His ground game is very iffy. He's been exposed on the ground quite a bit. But I think he won like a submission fight in 2014, or he won a fight by submission in 2014, and then he won his UFC debut last year by knockout. But this looks like a really fun fight, Dave. I mean, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, I heard you mention, he's had some trouble on the ground. Some submission defense is going to be key in this one. He's fighting, I'd say Dong Hyun Kim, if the fight goes a ground advantage to him, Polo Reyes is definitely a striker. I think he's got one UFC win. It was over Cesar, I forget how to pronounce his last name, but that fight he did win by knockout, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think he won a knockout fight of that.
Yeah, so he's gonna stand. He's gonna stand and bang. He's gonna bring it. This fight could be a pretty good war. It could go all 3 rounds. It's an early fight. A lot of those early prelim fights, lots of action. There's guys up and comers. These guys are 155ers. I see it being a real scrappy battle. I got to take Polo Reyes in this one though. Take him by decision in this fight.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm with Jesse. I like Dong Hyun Kim in this fight. Both have chins, both have striking. To me, it cancels each other out. I think Kim would be smart to take this to the ground and expose Reyes. Would not be surprised if Reyes has been busting his ass on his ground game though, and finds a way to keep this on the feet. Again, the boxing thing, being able to move around, footwork, finding angles. It's almost like who's going to show up at their best in that night. and if Kim can take advantage of the ground game or not. Shout out to Andrew Reed hitting us up on the YouTube. Mike Jarvis, of course, always on the shows. Appreciate it, fellas. Andy, of course, going Bisping. Even though I know Andrew Reed does not like Bisping. He doesn't like him. But because he's an Englishman, he has to root for him. It's like when Kane fights anybody, I kind of have to root for Kane. That's my homie. But, that's kind of what Andrew's doing. And Mike Jarvis says Bisping and Faber will be the champs. And then Andrew Reed asks him if he's on drugs. Faber doesn't have a chance. So, yeah, that's how the fellas do it on the YouTube comments. All right, moving on to the next fight here. California boy Kevin Casey against the King Elvis Mutapchik. So, and by the way, these two aren't the only kings as far as the nicknames go on this card. I think there's one more somewhere. In fact, it's King Bobby Green, right? King Bobby Green is his nickname.
Yeah, Bobby King Green. Oh yeah.
Jeez, man, come on now with the king shit. All right. Anyway, this is the Battle of the Kings. Very few fighters have had what I would call a roller coaster ride that Kevin Casey has had in his career. He's been unable to fight due to cutting weight. You guys remember in The Ultimate Fighter, his kidneys were failing on him. I believe that was what the issue was with him. He wasn't able to fight. He's also been busted for PEDs. Most of his fights have left much to be desired by fans. He's got a couple of no contests, obviously for obvious reasons. And he's only got one win in the UFC, and he's been in there quite a while. And it would be a decision over Ildemar Alcantara, who's not even in the UFC anymore. He's a wrestler and a jiu-jitsu guy. He needs the fight to go to the crown. He wasn't able to do it against Rafael Natal, who TKO'd him in January. Meanwhile, Elvis is a ground guy. He's got good hands, or at least good enough to give you a TKO here and there. He hung tough with Francimar Barroso in a light heavyweight bout, but he's a natural middleweight, right? So this fight's perfect for both of them, really. And Elvis he's taking on a guy in Casey who can look. These guys can make it an entertaining ground fight, right? A lot of us that are big fans of jiu-jitsu might actually enjoy this fight quite a bit. And a lot of people don't like Kevin Casey because he tries to ground and hump or whatever. But I think it's going to be more entertaining than people think it's going to be. But Dave, we were talking about this, man. The California presence on this card, especially King Kevin Casey. Do you think that Kevin Casey needs his win more than Elvis by a lot? Okay, especially due to the inconsistency. Do you think Kevin Casey can pull this off?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I was talking about the California support. Back in the day, I remember watching he had a good run in the RFA. He was a champion there. Before that is when he had the UFC Ultimate Fighter stuff happen. But he is a ground and pound fighter. He's training with Machida. He's a Black House guy, so he's going to be prepared. He's going to be highly motivated. He's fighting in his backyard. I mean, I've seen Kevin Casey fight in California quite a few times. I see him rising up and taking that win. Alvis is a tough guy. It's going to be one of those grind out fights. And Kevin Casey's had some bad luck in the octagon. He's had like you said, he had the scratched eyeball. He had to have a surgery immediately after that bout. But I think he had some luck go his way this time, and I think he showcases what he's all about in that octagon and gets that W on Saturday.
Yeah, and again, it's a guy that really badly needs it. Now, Kevin Casey's not a Kings MMA guy, Jesse, and we know how you feel about those guys. He is a Cali boy, though. So you tell me who you got winning this one.
It's a tough one because I like to pick the Cali guys. I'm kind of one of those homers for the Cali guys, but man, it's hard to pick Kevin Casey. You look at his record. He's fought some really high level guys. He ain't no chump, and like our friend here was mentioning, I think he was the first RFA welterweight champion, right? I think he was the first guy to claim that title. So I mean, he's got the credentials. I mean, what he did on the show wasn't the best showing for him, and it just kind of seems like he hasn't really gotten traction in the UFC yet. I just don't see how he's gonna do it against Elvis, who he's slick on the ground. He's got knockout power. He finishes pretty much every single fight. I think his losses are just by decision, basically. It's only people that can outlast him and really just kind of neutralize what he does. And honestly, it doesn't seem like Kevin Casey is going to be able to challenge him too much on the feet. On the ground, he'll definitely be able to do something that Elvis probably hasn't seen because he's got that really slick, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu background. And he's always toting that jiu-jitsu. He's always saying that, he's a secondary son or, cousin or something to the Gracies, and he wants to prove himself, in the UFC that, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lineage still holds true, but I just don't see it happening. Unfortunately, I think they should probably be fighting for nicknames, and whoever wins gets to keep the King nickname. And I think it's going to be Elvis that's going to take this one. I just think he's got the more better hands and just a little bit more well-rounded. And I think that's what's going to take him to the win.
Yeah, by the way, on the nickname thing, no more Kings, no more Pit Bulls, no more, what's the other one that's like super, like everyone has? Fuck, I had it right down too.
The Dragon?
Nah, who was the Dragon? It's Machida.
Well, we have the Irish Dragon, Toyota with the Dragon. I think there's another one somewhere.
There's one more that I'm like, dude, stop it. Like, damn
Is
it.
it Diamond? It could be Diamond.
Nah, there's only what? Poirier's one. Who else is doing it?
I thought I remember there being one or two others, maybe just one other.
Yeah, but the thing about Pitbull is like 15 people have it, and fucking same thing with King now. Apparently, it's ridiculous. But I'll think of the other one in like 5 minutes. Watch it. I'll just yell it out, and people will be confused. Anyway, moving on to the next fight, which I think is gonna be the best fight in the early prelims, maybe even the whole prelims, but for sure the early prelims. We got two guys that like to just throw hands and go, right? We got Johnny Bravo Wilson, the American, against Frankenstein, Luis Enrique da Silva from Brazil. Johnny Bravo has very solid footwork, and he confuses wrestlers, which I think is awesome, right? Now he's still, he's still early on in his career and all that, so he does make mistakes once in a while. But he does get, guys. He confuses guys, makes mistakes. He has a monster left hand. He just hits dudes hard with that left. He showed his power in his debut against Chris Dempsey when he knocked him out with that lefty. Wilson also has combos. In fact, in that fight against Dempsey, he hits him with the left, basically knocks him out, and hits him with the right leg on the way down. So it's just that's how it is. With Johnny Bravo, he's undefeated, 6 knockout wins on his record. We can expect him to try and get another win against Silva. Meanwhile, Frankenstein is also undefeated. He's 10-0. All knockouts except for one. It was a submission technically, but the guy tapped his strikes. So he will beat the shit out of somebody. That's how he works, right? Now I think his last fight was a TKO win against Ildemar Alcantara, but that was in a different promotion. And he's never seen the third round of his career ever. The farthest he's gone is second round. So expect hands to be thrown in this fight. Jesse, it's two guys throwing down. It's two guys that are not afraid to take a shot to give one. Who you got in this one?
Man, this one's a tough fight. I think Don sent us over his picks as well. And I think he went with Wilson, I think, in this one. Man, it's almost like a pick'em fight to me. This one's like, it's almost like one of those that I wish they were showcasing it more and really promoting this one more. Yeah. Just because these two guys are just gonna throw hands at each other until someone falls down and is like dead, pretty much on the canvas. Honestly, looking from both of their records and who they've kind of been against and stuff, Jonathan Wilson, he has a couple people on his resume that pretty much aren't really up to snuff in my opinion. There were a few names that kind of sounded familiar, and I looked them up, and it wasn't who I was thinking of. But Luis Enrique da Silva, he's also a guy that kind of was fighting guys that really didn't go anywhere. Both of these guys, they have great records, but none of the guys that they've fought really went anywhere. So it's kind of interesting to see both of these guys kind of coming at each other and seeing who's just going to pretty much knock each other's heads off. That being said, to me, it just seems like Da Silva has the stronger punching power, if that makes sense. Like, he just has a little bit more pop behind it. And he's also been cracked pretty hard before, and he's recovered from it pretty well. He doesn't seem to really wobble too much from those giant hits. Jonathan Wilson, on the other hand, I've seen him kind of like get that like little like wobbly look on his face sometimes, but he's got a pretty good chin as well. So I think it's just going to be Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and I think Da Silva is going to come out on top. Oh. Where did our buddy go? So go ahead and give me your pick.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, it's going to be a pretty tough bout. I mean, it's a 205 bout, undefeated Wilson. I actually was talking a little bit with my buddy Sada Watt earlier, talking about the work that he's been putting in at the gym. So he's real heavy-handed. He's a tough guy. It's going to be an interesting bout. I mean, yeah, decision or knockout Wilson. I got to go either route on that.
Yeah, and yeah, internet, fellas, that's what happens. My shit will freeze in like for no reason out of nowhere. Yeah. And this fight, look, Jonathan Wilson. Wilson has a height advantage. I think he has a reach advantage, but I don't think it's gonna matter in this fight. I think it's gonna be whoever gets dropped that's it. You know what I mean? So again, this is the fight in the prelims that I'm definitely looking forward to the most. And we have another comment here on YouTube. Brian saying Luke Rockhold will retire Bisping and it will be glorious. I can't wait to hear his excuses. Here's one thing about Bisping. We'll get to that fight soon enough. But Bisping, to me, doesn't really ever make excuses. You know what I mean? He always goes, look, the better man won, move on. And then he'll get back to talking some shit, which is cool. I don't mind that at all. You know what I mean? But at least he gives the guy his things. But if you want excuses, call Conor McGregor. He has plenty of them. And then he'll say they're not. So, not fuck you. No ouch. There's no ouch. This is true, and everyone knows it. And anyone that wants to take issue on that, let's go on Twitter. Go for it. And I'll point out every excuse he's thrown after he said he won't make excuses. Okay? Nah. Anyway, that's for another show. Anyway, y'all gonna get me started on this shit. The featured fight pass prelim: Sean Strickland, Tarzan against Tom Breeze, the man who retired Cahal Pendred. Everyone give him a clap in your heads. So happy that dude. Look, no ill will towards Cahal Pendred. He blew me out of my mind. Okay, like Jesus, it was bad. All right, so Sean Strickland he's 4-1 in the UFC. He's solid jiu-jitsu, but his striking seems to have done most of the damage in his career. He's very durable. He's been able to go to decision many times, even in fights where he's expected to be dominated. So he's a guy that will. He'll give you a pretty baller performance every once in a while. Tom Breeze, like I said, is the man that retired Cahal Pendred. 10-0 his pro career, 3-0 in the UFC. He fights out of TriStar Gym, where pro fighters they go in there with one skill, right? They have a ground game or they'll have a stand-up game, and they'll come out of there well-rounded. And you wonder for Asa Hobbies with one of those guys, right? I mean, you got a handful of gyms that does that to guys. You got TriStar, Jackson's will do that to guys. Rafael Cordero over at Kings is starting to do that with guys that have ground game. They'll go to him. Shut up. They'll go to him, and he'll teach him striking, and they're well rounded already. So it's just you got literally just a handful of these guys that can do that, or coaches that can do that. And Breeze has gone to TriStar to get that done. He has a slick ground game. Like Strickland though, he prefers his hands. It seems. So to me, there's a potential for a fight of the night, sort of. I think secondary to Wilson and De Silva. But Dave, what do you think about this fight, man? Who you picking?
Yeah, it's a good fight. I mean, I think Strickland also used to be affiliated with Millennia. He's from California. I think he's from Los Angeles area, so he'll have some support there as well. Tom Breeze coming out of the TriStar camp, like you said, he went in there with one skill set, comes out, shining, training with all these high-level guys there, much like Jackson's, much like ATT even as well. I was going to mention. I think Strickland's only loss is to Ponzinibbio, right? That's his only defeat in the UFC. So I think going forward, I mean, both guys are hungry right now. I mean, this is an interesting fight, and like you said, a good point. It's a fight of the night candidate. I mean, number 2, but I definitely seen it be being very interesting. I mean, Tom Breeze, is a competitive guy. I can see it going all the way through 3 rounds, or I can see it ending in the first round.
Definitely, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the one and only Fred Man Bun Kirby to the show. How you doing, bud?
What's happening, brother? I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
You found a shirt, huh?
You found a shirt?
Yeah. I try.
Hey,
what's up with this fucking no shirt shit? I've never done a show without a shirt. What's up with this shit?
No, you talk about your Instagram, your Twitter pictures, all that shit.
Yeah. That's different. That's different. Fucking professional right now.
So now we got 4 states getting repped here. We got Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Ohio. So we're covering fucking half the country here.
Sweet.
All right.
Where y'all at on the card?
We're actually at the featured Fight Pass prelim, so you're actually on time for all the good ones. Or all the big ones, big name.
Big one, the featured Fight Pass prelim.
There you go. All right, now real quick, Jesse, Sean Strickland, Tom Breeze. Now you got the Englishman against the American. Now I think there's only 2 English guys in this card between Bisping and Tom Breeze. Could end up being the 2 guys that are the most talked about out of this whole card. What do you think about this fight? Who you got winning? Jesse?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Man, it's a tough fight, dude. Honestly, I don't know. It's almost, to me, this is another one where they did good matchmaking, where you got two guys that are kind of on the rise, especially Tom Breeze after putting in some work. When he was thrown against a guy that everybody pretty much he was gonna get eaten up alive by getting taken down and just kind of decisioned, and he proved that his work that he's put in and everything has paid off to be able to stuff the takedowns, stand up from getting taken down and just avoiding being in dangerous positions. On the other side, Strickland, he's a tough cat, man. That fight with Ponzinibbio was just one of those just firefights, really. I mean, they tested each other's chin. They really showed that they were both evolved in their skill set. So I think this is actually a very, very good matchup. I have Strickland winning, but just by a hair. I mean, this is one of those fights where you might as well flip a coin and see who wins. Both of these guys are probably going to come in, very well prepared, and it's going to be a really, really good fight. Like you and I, Eddie, we always talk about how it kind of seems like the matchmakers set up the card, and they kind of layer it to really keep the excitement going. And this is one of those fights that looks like it's going to start off that Fox Sports 1 show off right. I think it's gonna look good.
Fred, you got some fans on YouTube, bro, and you know who they are.
You know what? Tell them to kiss my ass already. I already know the bullshit's coming.
That's fine, but you gotta hear it because it's pretty good. Fucking Mike Jarve says, "Here's a Kardashian of the show," and then Andrew Reed says, "Fuck off, ginger bearded hippie."
I love you too, English, you prick.
All right, what do you think about this fight, Fred?
Moving on to me. Just pertaining this to English. I hope Tom Breeze gets his ass kicked just because of you. And man fisting. I hope fucking England takes a double goose egg on this fucking card. Let's go Strickland. That's all I got to say about that fight.
There we go. There's your pick, ladies and gentlemen, Strickland. It's going to be your UFC Fight Pass early prelims. Again, 6:15 Eastern, 3:15 Pacific time. Moving on to the Fight Pass or the FS1 prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Kicked off by Cole Miller against Bruce Leroy. Now this is interesting, right? It was supposed to be Dennis Seaver against BJ Penn. Dennis Seaver pulls out, in comes Cole Miller. BJ Penn gets busted, kind of busted, I guess, by USADA with the IV thing, which he explained earlier. Today was some weird thing. We sounded like a weird explanation to me, but actually, Dave, I'll ask you about that. What do you know about the IV thing with BJ?
Actually, I wanted to catch up with Brandon Gibbs, and actually this evening I was supposed to go catch a class 5 to 6, check him out, and I was supposed to find out more about it. I told you last time I was trying to get in touch with Greg or Winklejohn and see what I could find out. I didn't see BJ at the gym. Been down there twice since that occurred, that whole incident. I haven't seen him there. I haven't seen him doing any type of training, whether it's jiu-jitsu or just down there, putting some work in. So unsure of the whole BJ situation, but I'm sure I'll find out something here by the end of the week.
Yeah, definitely. And so now BJ Penn pulls out. In comes Alex Caceres, a.k.a. Bruce Leroy. All right, so Cole Miller is one of those guys who's been in the UFC for so long that you don't remember him anywhere else. Now, he's not a picture of consistency. He's one of those guys that has a 2-fight win streak, and then he loses one. And another 2-fight win streak, and then he loses one. He can never get himself in the title picture consistently ever. He's just one of those guys, and you can't help it, we can't help it. It is what it is with him. Now, Miller loves the ground game. He loves submissions, loves them, big time. His stand-up game has been evolving, to me, in my opinion, rather slowly, but it's useful. It's serviceable, I guess.
Slow as a snail.
There you go. But he always tries to get the fight to the ground. The problem with Miller is that he can't finish fights, and he lets guys stay in fights with him. And whenever he goes to decision, 99% of the time, he loses that fight. Fred, what do you think about this guy?
I would disagree with that. I think Cole Miller is good at finishing fights. When he gets the right person, his jiu-jitsu is very good. But listen, in this fight, I think he's going to lose. I think that Bruce Leroy's jiu-jitsu is serviceable to where he's not just going to be a fish out of water if they do hit the ground. And I actually think his striking is worlds better. Cole Miller's striking is sloppy and predictable as shit. And he's one of those cats that is tall and kind of rangy, but doesn't really use his range very well. Still seems to fucking get thunderstruck quite often. And Bruce Leroy's a decent striker, too, and really good in scrambles and crafty and shit. So I don't know if he'll finish him, but I could definitely see him getting a TKO. Although Cole Miller's a pretty tough dude, so I think he'll just outpoint him.
All right, yeah, decision win in that one. What about you, Jesse? What do you got?
Yeah.
Man, I gotta agree with Fred over there. Um, Honestly, to me, it comes down to who you fought before and like how you did against that competition. Cole Miller, I mean, he took a beating against Max Holloway, and then his last fight, what he got eye poked, right? And we
Yeah.
haven't seen him since then. But honestly, like Bruce Leroy, I mean, we saw him against Faber, and he gave Faber a pretty good, like a pretty decent fight. I mean, he stayed out of the submission game. He was able to avoid a couple of those takedowns, even though eventually he got, uh, basically tired and started getting taken down a lot. But I mean, honestly, he's one of those guys that's kind of weird. And like Fred mentioned, Cole Miller, he like fights hunched over, which is really weird. He's that guy that should be using that range. And honestly, Caceres knows how to use his range, knows how to use every single inch of his range, and he knows how to fire off those shots and keep people guessing where they're coming from. I think his experience, he's got like, he doesn't have as many fights as Cole Miller, but it seems like he has more experience with his body in the fight game, and I think that's going to pay off for Caceres. I think his speed is also going to be a factor, and I think Caceres is going to take him out.
All right, and then Mike and Andrew Reed going back and forth on Twitter or on YouTube saying you're definitely on drugs, Mike. So Andrew Reed throwing up telling Mike he's out of his mind. Dave, what do you think about this fight, man? You got two guys that are coming in on short notice. Literally it's been like 3 fights in one, and finally we get this one this Saturday. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, good call. Yeah, 3 fights in one. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, because I was looking forward to seeing BJ back in there. I seen his training leading up to this bout. I mean, Cowboy even said, I'm train BJ to kick your ass, Cole Miller, every single day. So I was looking forward to seeing that happen. I know Caceres has been in there with some tough dudes. He's been in there with guys like Damasio Page. I mean, he got a win over Sergio Pettis. So he's been in there with some pretty tough competition. Cole Miller, likewise, he's coming off what Max Holloway beat him the last time, and then a no contest, I believe, before that. So he's coming off somewhat of a layoff, but still a fight on short notice. I think Cole Miller gets the job done. He's got his partner Dustin Poirier there. They're both ATT guys taking training together. So I think they got some momentum behind them. The ATT camp on this card. I think Miller gets it done, but by decision, submission. But I'm leaning towards a decision wholly in that one though.
All right, next fight up, we got the number 6 ranked strawweight, women's strawweight, Jessica Penne against, is it Jessica Andrade? Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica Andrade, who has moved down from bantamweight to strawweight. It's an interesting cut for her because she's actually been one of the smaller bantamweights in the UFC and still won fights against 135ers, which is pretty interesting. Now, some people, of course, will be saying that this move down is due to USADA, right? A lot of Brazilians are going to be being a little weird since USADA took over. But Penny is a veteran of women's MMA. She holds wins over Angela Magana, Lisa Ellis, which, okay, those two are whatever. But she also beat Randa Marcos, which is, to me, legit. Yeah. And then Penny has sort of a too tough for her own good type of style, or at least type of attitude. Her last fight against Joanna, she got TKO'd while she was still standing. Like, she never hit the mat. Sure. You know what I mean? And the ref had to save her from from herself, basically. Now, she's a jiu-jitsu specialist. She has decent striking. She's got a tough chin, and she's a really tough girl. And she seems to make every fight a bloody one. Meanwhile, Andrade has been fighting above her natural weight class for years, it seems. Again, people are going to be talking about USADA real quick. And, she still put together a solid record at 135 pounds. Now she moves to 115, which she should have at least a strength advantage, although Jessica Penne is still taller and longer, I believe. Now, as long as the weight cut didn't kill her, she should be okay. Good striking, better jiu-jitsu. Strawweight, to me, seems like a good move for Andrade, and I'm picking her to win this fight. I'll start here with Dave, man. What do you think about this fight here?
Yeah, Jessica Penne, I mean, last time we seen her in there, she was in there with the champ, with Joanna. After that fight, she was a bit, unrecognizable. I mean, Joanna really put it to her in that bout. I think she took the necessary time off. She didn't really jump back in the mix. I think that was necessary. Yeah, I think that helped her out. I mean, in this bout, she's going in there against a girl who's cutting down, so I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. She's tough. She'll mix it up. I got, Penne, she's too composed. She's too patient. I think she gets the job done just via decision. I think she fights a real smart fight and gets back in that win column for sure.
Definitely. What about you, Fred?
I think it depends on how Andrade takes the weight cut, right? Like, Andrade was low-key a beast at 35, wasn't she? If I remember correctly, wasn't she kind of like a powerful striker and shit?
Yep.
It's just hard to get that image of Penne looking fucking beat the shit
Yeah.
with her last fight with old JJ. Coming off a fight like that and then not having competed for so long, I think a lot of it hinges on how the weight cut goes for the Brazilian. If she can make the weight cut and still resemble what she did at 35, I think Jessica Penne may be in trouble. If she comes in and she's dehydrated and she gets tired quickly, Penne's definitely got the style to outlast her and out-wrestle her and out-grind the shit out of her. So, first or second round finish for Andrade or a fucking wrestle fuck fest from Penne.
Yeah. All right, Jesse, who you got this one, man? Yeah, hey, why not? Jesse, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I felt bad for the last time that we talked about Jessica Penne. I think Dawn took offense to me saying that she was going to get a nose job in that fight, and kind of did. But honestly, I think she's too tough for her own good, man. She really is. She just likes to have this grinding style of, like, you know, she's gonna be in your face, and whether you punch her, kick her, knee her, if she's still conscious, she's gonna be in your face, trying to take you down. You know, trying to just tire you out. And I think that style is gonna be to an advantage to her, even if Andrade makes that weight cut good. This is her first time cutting down to this weight, so I don't think she's going to be able to, you know, she doesn't really know her body. She really doesn't know what her gas tank is going to be like, how depleted it's going to be, and how well it's going to run after, you know, unless she's one of those people, talking about that weight cut, unless she's one of those people that's going to be taking advantage of that early morning weigh-in and having pretty much an extra, 12 hours to rehydrate. But even then, I mean, you know, a lot of people are still talking about how that might not be enough for one of those people, some of those people that cut a lot of weight. So I just think it's going to be a tough challenge for Andrade to really be fighting someone that's high level, has the experience, has that really grinding style, and not gas out. I think that's what's going to be key here. I think she's going to eventually gas out, probably towards the end of the second, in the third, and she's going to get, you know, kind of beat up at the end there.
Yeah, and now you mention it, the earlier weigh-in time. Cruz was talking about that. That's good for the fighters. Instead of having to be on weight for 4 or 5 hours, you only have to be on weight for 2, right? So you weigh in, and then just like you said, you have a whole lot more time to rehydrate. We could see way better fights, I think, with people that are with fighters that are better recuperated, right, after a weight cut. So that's really interesting. All right, next fight up here, we got James the Executioner Vick against number 10. Welterweight? No, lightweight, Benil Dariush. Yeah. Now, Dariush is one of those guys. Yeah. How about this, Fred? What do you think about that fight, man?
This is a good fight, man. James Vick is a weird cat, though. We had James Vick on Stand and Bang like fucking 9.5 years ago. Yeah. And I don't know what he's been dealing with, a lot of different injury issues and shit. But he's fought once, right? Since he had that long injury. Didn't he just have a fight relatively recently?
Yeah, he won a decision fight. I forgot against who, though. I'll find out right now.
Okay. I know one of you boys that got Sherdog pulled up over there.
He beat Glyco Franca at 197 by decision.
Right. But that was the first time he had fought in a long time. I know that James Vick has got a lot of potential. But I'll tell you what, man, De La Roche is a fucking tough prick, too. What was his last fight?
Benil Dariush.
He beat Michael Johnson.
Yeah, he got that weird decision win over Michael Johnson, and then got rear naked choked by Chiesa in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Listen, man, I think if the layoff didn't hurt Vic and his injuries haven't hindered him none, I kind of like him in this fight. Unlike Mr. fucking funny-ass Cole Miller, James Vick actually uses his reach really well, and he's a scrappy fucker and an aggressive striker. You know, it kind of reminds me of Tim Means a bit or something, the way he fights. He's aggressive, man, and he's a good striker. I think that if he can keep De La Roche off of him, because De La Roche is a really good fucking grappler, really crafty. I think before he beat Michael Johnson, he out-grappled somebody who was a really good grappler, which actually speaks to Chiesa's grappling, too. Yeah, there you go, Jim Miller, who is a hell of a grappler. But I think that if James Vick can keep De La Roche off of him, he's a better striker, and he's a striker that can finish people. And I like the Texecutioner. Come on, it's a dope-ass nickname. We're going to go fucking James Vick, the Texecutionator, by second-round TKO.
Look, it's more original than Pitbull and King and all that other shit. So, although, who was it that was the Executioner? Joey Beltran? Remember that?
Joey Beltran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
That dude fought like in 9 different weight classes.
Yeah, you know what? That guy should be selling some kind of like fat loss supplement for sure. Should be doing that. You know what he's doing now? He works at a furniture store selling furniture.
Yep.
And look, he enjoys it. So hey, good for him.
He enjoys it. Hey, bullshit. He enjoys it. What the fuck? He used to be a goddamn professional fighter. I'm sure he fucking hates selling furniture.
He still is, man. He just fought recently, lost.
Yeah, he lost. I know that.
It's his furniture selling job.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Look, James Vick. When we saw him make a big splash against Jake Matthews in Australia, in the boy's hometown, he guillotined him in the first round, if I remember correctly. So James Vick had like quite a bit of a push. Didn't fight for a year due to injuries, like Fred said. Beat Franca by decision. Do you think he look? To me, he needs to make finish his fight and finish it in I think not spectacular fashion, but in impressive fashion, so he can get that momentum back that he had against Jake Matthews. Does he do it in this fight?
Yeah, I like James Vick in this bout. He asked for the big bout. He asked for a top guy. He gets Dariush coming off the Chiesa loss. The only time he's ever been finished, so he's got something to prove on his end too. So Dariush is going to come out, bringing it. I think Vick, he's still a young prospect. He's 29 years old. He's had some injuries. I think the youth, he has that on his side. So definitely, he's competitive all around. I think in this fight, I see him going with he could KO, decision, submission. I think Vick can finish the fight anywhere, but like you mentioned, it's something in impressive fashion really bumps him up in that division, and I think that's what he wants to do. So. And then him handing James Vick, or handing Matthews, the loss in Australia. Now that was big time, but yeah, he does need to, get his name back out there and get people talking about him. I think after Saturday, everybody will know what James Vick's about.
Definitely, and Jesse, Andrew Reed is picking Dariush in this fight. Do you agree?
Damn it! Now I can't pick him. Damn it!
You're gonna pick him to begin with?
I am, and I still am. You know what? Beneil, a couple of things that impresses me about fighters is when they know how to lose. If a fighter knows how to lose, take the loss, learn from it, and become better, that's an advantage. When you got someone like John Jones, that has never, tasted defeat, basically, he doesn't know how to lose. The only thing is that John Jones has that mental ability to not fall behind. Even if he's getting beat up, like when we saw against Gustafsson, he had that second drive in his mind to keep himself going instead of just losing the fight and giving up. And I think that's going to be the difference maker in this fight. I think Beneil knows what it's like to lose, and he knows how that feeling is and how to come back from it. His level of competition is also impressive. I mean, taking out Jim Miller, like Fred mentioned earlier, and Michael Johnson. I mean, Michael Johnson, he was on a run, and taking him out. He also had a really, really good fight against Darren Cruikshank, another guy who's underrated. And I just think the level of his wins are better than what James Vick has been able to do. Hopefully, James Vick has been improving his skills, from when we last saw him. But I just think Beneil's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's got something to prove, and I think he's going to prove it. I think that's what's going to lead him to victory. That extra push to want to get that back.
All right, moving on to the featured prelim on FS1. We got Brian T. City Ortega against Clay the Carpenter Guida. T. City's 10-0. He's got one no contest. Most of his wins come from submission. Thus, T. City, Triangle City. His ground game is just damn good. Guys seem to be afraid to get in his guard, fearing that impending triangle choke. It's always there. He does have hands, and he showed some hands, and he showed that against Thiago Tavares last June. But Ortega is game for anything in the cage. But if he can triangle you, he's gonna do it. He loves his nickname, you can tell. And as far as Clay Guida goes, it's almost easy to forget that he's actually still been fighting for forever, right? He's been a pro fighter since 2004 and in the UFC since 2006. He's one of those guys who used to fight a bunch of times per year. Now recently, and by the way, he threw all fucks out the window. He would be getting to slugfest. That was his game plan. Okay, time out. His game plan was different, and it would just turn into a slugfest with guys, and it would just drive his coaches nuts. Now, in recent years, he's taken a more conservative approach, as is expected from someone that trains at Jackson's. Jackson Winklejohn, the coaches there are like, this is the game plan, stick to it. He still has very good wrestling. He still has jiu-jitsu and solid hands. His newest weapon to me seems like patience and discipline to follow the game plan. Now, Dave, you've seen this guy. What do you think about Clay? And does he actually still train at Jackson's, or has he moved around?
Yeah, he's still, affiliated with Izzy Martinez. He's the reason Israel Martinez became part of the Jackson Wing team. Is he got in Clay Guida's RV many years ago, came down to New Mexico, and it's all, I'll see it as history now. But yeah, that's another story. That's another show. But yeah, Clay Guida in this fight, I was really 50-50 on picking the winner in this bout. T-City's a beast. I followed him since his RFA days. He really got a good win over Diego Brandao. He's a tough guy. If it's anybody that's going to be comfortable in his guard on the ground, really getting into it, it's a guy like Clay Guida. Kind of, I think about the Anthony Pettis Clay Guida fight a lot when I think about this one. I do know Clay Guida is affiliated with Alpha Male, so he's been out there training with Chad Mendes, with Uriah Faber. They've been putting in work out there, putting them through the Guida wrestling grinder, I guess you could say, combined with Master Tong and all the stuff that they do out there. But I think I'm going with Clay on this one. I'm going with Clay by decision. I think he's one of those guys that you just run into. Look at Anthony Pettis. Guida's the stopper. He still is. He's got 32 and 13. The guy's been around forever. He's a competitive guy. I think he's constantly sharpening his skills. Out at Team Alpha Male, I think he's he's kind of motivated those guys to step their game up, because he hasn't been really affiliated with Jackson fully in this entire camp. I think Guida goes in there, grinds it out, and we see a classic Clay Guida performance. And T-City, he's in his backyard. He's got a lot of momentum, a lot of backing in LA, so I think he's going to be way competitive. But I say Clay Guida edges him. It's one of those Clay Guida fights we're going to see on Saturday.
All right, Fred, like I said, Clay Guida's been around for a long time, taking on T-City. Who you got in this one, man?
Lord, I hope you are wrong, son. I want to see Clay Guida wearing a Bellator uniform.
Oh, come on.
That's listen, that's exactly where he belongs at this point in the game. Stop it. Clay Guida, you guys have said it, he's been around forever. Fucking T-City, cool nickname, fucking cool special move, a young cat. Please, God, let him beat Clay Guida and send Clay Guida to the fucking Bellator funny farm where he deserves to be. Clay Guida has served his purposes. He has had his glory in the UFC, but he is done. This is definitely a measuring stick to just see exactly how good Brian Ortega is, and I happen to think that he's the real deal. Anthony Pettis is cute, but I think Ortega's ground game is on a whole nother level. I think that the guy's the real deal, and I think that if Clay Guida gets down there with his funny hair flopping around, he'll eventually get submitted. And I pray to fucking Christ and Buddha it's by a triangle, so we can keep. I love fucking guys like that always catch a specific move. I was the one guy that loved Ronda Rousey armbarring everybody. Everybody fucking with the boohoo tears. Oh, we see armbars everybody in the first round. Perfect. It's better than seeing Clay Guida fucking hump you to death on the cage for 4 rounds.
Oh, come on.
Please, God, let him get a finish. Brian Ortega, first round, T motherfucking City.
Oh, geez. Andrew Reed going after Clay as well. He says, Guida deserves to be beaten because of his bloody hair. And then Brian goes, yeah, his hair is annoying as fuck, but he's a brawler. He used to be a brawler. Now, if he goes back to that, please believe he's going to be a favorite again. But, yeah, come on, man, stop hating on his hair. I think it's because of your hair, Fred. That's why.
That's what it is.
Probably what it is. All right, Jesse, what do you think about this fight, man?
Man, I thought for sure the guy with the long hair and the beard and everything would be that'd be your God and Savior right there, Clay Guida. That's your hero.
No,
That's
fuck
what I
that
thought.
shit. He gets no fucking love for his hair and his beard. He can stop jumping around so goddamn much and start fighting.
Well, it's a tough fight. I really think it's a tough fight, but I think Clay Guida is a smart veteran. I think that's why he went to Team Alpha Male. I think that's why he went over there to just roll around with those guys that are just murderers on the ground. They put you in positions. They know how to catch you from all these weird angles. I think if Clay Guida had just stayed at Jackson's and tried to do his thing, I think he would get caught very easily in one of those triangles by Ortega. But I think him trying to advance his game, going to a different camp, kind of learning just different angles on his entries, I think we're going to see a different Clay Guida. I think his wrestling is going to be just more refined. I think he's going to have more ways to take Ortega down and avoid getting in those positions. And I think you're right, Fred. I think I don't agree that he has served his purpose. He's done. I think his purpose is to be that measuring stick. I think his purpose is to be in there against, a Pettis, an Ortega, anybody that they're thinking is going to be the next big thing. They put him against Guida, and he puts him, to the test because he's so well rounded. He's so good at pretty much everything. He's gonna see the flaws in your game, and he's gonna expose them. And I'm picking Clay because I think he's a veteran. But if Ortega's the real deal, Ortega's gonna run through him pretty easily.
Quickly, let me just say this before we move on from this fight. I actually kind of, all due respect, completely disagree with you, bruh. I think him going to Alpha Male is actually going to lose him this fight. Who the fuck from Alpha Male has ever finished a fight by a triangle? I think he would have been a lot better off staying at Jackson's with fucking John Danaher and the scientist team behind him. If this kid is as slick off his back as he seems, I can't imagine that. I mean, Alpha Male is kind of like, he's already good at wrestling. I guess it would sharpen that tool a little bit, but I think he needed to be somewhere. That motherfucker needed to go train with like Damian Maya or Jacare, somebody with a real strong fucking ground game.
No, I agree with you. I think he's not trying to just like get better at his ground game. I think what he went to go with Team Alpha Male is find different entry points, because his big thing is to put you against the cage, double leg you, and take you down. And then where is he at? In your guard. And I think he realized that if he does that, he's going to get triangled right away, because Brian Ortega is a beast finding those positions. And I think what he went to Team Alpha Male to do is find different ways, maybe a single leg, maybe an outside trip, just different tools instead of just using the same old tool. We'll see, man.
True.
You could be right. You could be right. We're going to see the same Clay Guida just, run him into the cage and just try to take him down, and then that's it. We could see that.
Yo, listen, if y'all was coaching Clay Guida for this fight, what would be your advice? I would say don't take the fucking guy down, period. Single leg, double leg, fucking toe hold. If you end up on the ground, he's probably going to wiggle around until he pulls you into his guard. That's what he does, you know what I'm saying? I would imagine you would try to fucking box this kid and keep him at distance and knock him the fuck out.
Yeah. Look, what up? Go ahead.
I think his little hair technique of confusing people on where his chin is and stuff and where his face is, I think that'd be the best technique to use. And wiggle around and move around on the feet, just use his weird angles that he likes to use. Definitely that's the best idea. But it's Clay Guida. That dude does, zero fucks given on a game plan. As soon as he gets in there, he's going to see an opportunity and go for it. I just think he tried to learn a different tactic here instead of trying the same old thing. Because I think people are starting to figure out, and he's realized that people are figuring out what he does.
If I was quickly his head coach, I'd have been like, hey, look, for the next 2 weeks, you're working 4 or 5 hours on the mats with BJ Penn. That's it. That's all you're gonna do. I don't want to see you striking shit. That's all I want to see you is roll with BJ Penn for 4 hours a day until you can stop every triangle possible. You know what I mean? So, but I mean that's just me. BJ Penn is a monster on the ground. Everyone knows. I'm sure everyone at Jackson's, Dave. I'm sure everyone has seen him. Have you seen people roll with BJ over at Jackson's?
Have I seen Clay at Jackson's? You mean?
Yeah, but with BJ.
With BJ, no, I haven't seen the two work together. I've seen BJ work with just about everybody else, but Clay was here for a couple weeks. I didn't catch up with him. I think he was here with Izzy. Izzy's kind of back and forth from Chicago, and then he comes down here and teaches classes here at Jackson. But Clay's been out at Alpha Male for about a month now, I believe, or somewhere along, and finishing camp over there. So, been putting in a lot of work out there. I've been seeing and kind of seen what's been brewing up out there at Alpha Male, because we got a big title bout to talk about in a minute.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that's going to do it for our FS1 prelims. Again, those go down, if I can pull up the goddamn time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and those are on FS1. Now, your main card, obviously pay-per-view, kicks off at 10 Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time with Dustin the Diamond Poirier, number 11 ranked lightweight, against number 13 Bobby King Green. Now, Dustin Poirier, it seems like a return, or the move to 155 was exactly what Poirier needed to get his career back on track. Now, after his TKO loss to Conor McGregor at 178, Poirier moved to 155, and he's gotten a 3-fight win streak. His most recent win was a decision over Joe Duffy at UFC 195, right? Now, before that, he finished the very tough Yancy Medeiros and Carlos Ferreira. Now, without the cut to 145, he's able. It seems like he gets into fights a little fresher, has more power. Definitely has more power, and the speed is still there. It seems like he's very well-rounded. Look, to me, he's a very well-rounded fighter. Now, as far as Green goes, before he lost to Barbosa, he was on a tear. 8 wins in a row. Wins over Josh Thompson, James Cross, Pat Healy. He's legit striking. Many people forget about his very good ground game. This should be, to me, this should be for the most part a stand-up fight. Jesse, what do you think happens in this fight?
I agree with you. I think the best example of what we're gonna see here is what we saw in the Renan Barão fight. What was it from Sunday? You saw that what TJ did to Renan Barão, right? He put him to sleep, right? And what did Jeremy Stevens try to do? He tried to do the same thing, and he just couldn't. And it was that weight difference. The 10 extra pounds that he was able to not have to cut, and then rehydrate past that. That just helped him be able to absorb those punches better. And I think that's what we've seen from Dustin Poirier, and I think that's what's going to help him in this fight. Bobby Green is just a murderous puncher. I mean, you've seen how hard that dude just throws. But I think Poirier is a slicker fighter. I think his movement, his footwork is going to be able to keep him out of those heavy punches. And I think he's going to be able to land his counter strikes, and I think he's going to be able to knock out Bobby Green. So that's what I'm going with.
All right, and I gotta say this one. Andrew Reed saying, "How can Fred talk about stupid hair with that shite on his head?"
Oh, man, tell Andrew Reed to just go to sleep. Ain't it like 3 in the morning over in fucking Buckingham Palace?
Reed doesn't sleep, dude. We know this shit. All right.
True, he's a vampire.
All right, yeah, that's true. Now, a lot of Florida boys in this card, Dave. What do you think about this one? Does the Diamond get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like Poirier in this bout. Number 11, I think he breaks the top 10. He's been on a nice streak at 155. Bobby Green hasn't fought for 2.5 years. I mean, yeah. I know he trained with some animals at his gym, Pinnacle MMA. He's also a California guy. Arian Caldwell out there doing big things too in that same gym. I just think Poirier's got some momentum behind him. That win over Duffy, I know he had to take some time off. He had some badly broken nose, so he's a beast. I think Poirier. I mean, what are his losses to Cub McGregor, and who else? The Korean Zombie. There's only 3 losses, so I think I think he gets the job done based on Bobby King Green just being out so long. And it's crazy to think that the guy has like 8 canceled bouts too. He's like the king of canceled fights too, so that's another thing. But Bobby King was doing his thing until he had his injuries or he was away from the 155 division. But with a big win, I mean, if he gets a win over Poirier, he's right back in the mix. So he could find himself fighting Ally Quinta. He could be fighting these top guys right off the bat. But Poirier breaks the top 10, gets the job done on Saturday.
Yeah, I definitely got Poirier as well. Now, Fred, Bobby Green, just like Dave said, king of pulling out of fights. Tore his quad, had that surgery on his quad in January last year, and then in June he tore his ACL. All right, hasn't fought since 2014. Ring rust is real. Do you think that's going to make it an easy night for Poirier?
I wouldn't go as far as to say easy, but it's really hard to know what you're going to get with a guy that's been out for that long. I actually really like Bobby Green, but like we keep saying, he's been gone for 2 years, man. That's a long fucking time. Not everybody is fucking Dominic Cruz, man. Not everybody bounces back like that. It's really hard to tell what you're going to get. I enjoy watching Bobby Green fight. He's aggressive. He's fucking fun to watch fight. But at the end of the day, man, if you look at both the fighters, Poirier's been more active. He's most certainly more well-rounded. He's got a good ground game, good wrestling.
Oh, he's gone.
Not yet, baby. Not yet. Keep bricks calling me and shit. It's hard to pick Bobby Green because you don't know what the fuck you're going to get with him. And Dustin Poirier is good everywhere. You feel me? So it's really hard to fucking, unless Bobby Green rocks Dustin Poirier really fucking hard in the first round or something, you got to imagine that Dustin Poirier is technical and good enough to kind of just pick him apart and possibly even submit him if Bobby Green gets tired, which I would imagine he might fucking quite possibly would. He ain't fought in the month of Sunday, so like him getting tired wouldn't be a big issue at all.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I'm picking Poirier as well. Yeah, everyone's picking Poirier. Yeah, to me, it's just too much momentum, too much power. The move to 55, and Bobby Green's been out forever. That's going to be pretty crazy. All right, moving on here. Number 15, well, obviously up to 185. Number 15, Dan Hendo Henderson against number 14, Hector Showweather Lombard. We all know about Hendo. Veteran of the sport, and he has an H-bomb locked, loaded, and ready to knock someone's jaw off their face. But he's coming off a KO loss to Vitor Belfort. We're not talking about TRT Vitor. We're talking about Dad Bod Vitor. But Hendo is Hendo. Meanwhile, Lombard is moving up to middleweight after losing to Neil Magny in March. Seems like the weight cut might have been a bit too much for him because he is a pretty damn huge guy. And Lombard has legit takedowns, legit knockout power, legit jiu-jitsu. He's got the judo and all that. His game plan's got to be avoid the H-bomb. It's going to be – look, with Henderson, he's just waiting for that shit to land. Lombard is a hard hitter too. Kicking off here with Fred, how does this fight go down for you?
It's hard to say, man. This is one of those fights where I feel like it's 50-50. And it's hard to say whether this is going to be a good fight or not. I think it'll be an extremely fun fight for about 2.5, 3 minutes. And either somebody will get starched in that first firefight or it'll start getting real sloppy, real fucking quick towards the end. Because both of these guys are almost kind of the same, right? I guess Hendo doesn't really gas like Lombard does. But they're both going to be fucking shot out of the cannon the first couple minutes, and they're going to be trying to knock the shit out of each other. And they've both got the power to actually floor the other one if they catch the other one clean in the first couple of minutes. So it's a toss-up at that point. I would go ahead and just lean with Lombard just because he's a bit younger. I suppose he should probably win a firefight with Dan Henderson at this point in the game. But if he doesn't knock Dan Henderson out or hurt him badly in that first round, I think that Hendo's obviously got the wrestling to fall back on. But quite frankly, not to be a cunt or nothing or a negative Nancy, this fight couldn't matter less, right? Like, Hector Lombard's coming up to 85. Bruh, you couldn't make it the first go-around.
Yeah.
Hector Lombard's another one. Him and Clay need to head the fuck back to Bellator, the both of them. And Dan Henderson just needs to fucking retire. Jesus Christ. Dan Henderson was doing TRT 17 years ago. It's enough with it. Go star in movies, man. Both these cats. It's over. But I'm going to go with Lombard, man. He's younger and shit. He should get the fucking win. If he lets old man Dan beat him, then he's certainly fucking curtains. So, Vector.
Yeah, Fred, unless you're really old, Fred will not retire you. He will send your ass to Bellator. That's how it works. He wants to see that. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. Dave, what do you think about this fight, man? Hendo land the H-bomb, or is Lombard going to be too much for him?
Yeah, one thing I could say about this bout in 3 words is gonna be no ground game. You won't see anything on the ground in this one. Yeah, the key is for Lombard to avoid the Hendo H-bomb. I agree with Fred. They're both going to be shot out of a cannon coming out. Hector Lombard, the cardio is going to be questionable, as it always is. His last bout was, it's got to kick him in the ass. I mean, he was about to, have the win over Magny. He's in a big spot. He's right there in the mix of the top contenders, and now he's back, having to go through Dan Henderson and fight him at a different weight class. So I think the ATT preparation, the ATT guys, I think Lombard gets the job done based on his youth, and I think he just, coming off the Magny loss, just kind of it kills the guy. And Hendo, definitely not an easy out, but if it's anybody that could take him out in the first round, and it's just going to be a firefight. I see somebody going out pretty quickly, no later than 3-4 minutes into the first round, honestly.
Yeah, and Andrew Reed agrees with you guys so far. He's picking Lombard as well. Jesse, you gonna make it a sweep here?
No, I'm not. We always talk about your last fight, and I think that just tremendous beating that Neil Magny put on Lombard, that changes people, man. That was just that was an assault, man. They should have stopped that fight, before he went into that, what was it, the 3rd round, where he got even more beat up. To me, it's kind of like the Chris Weidman thing. It's a good thing Chris Weidman isn't fighting in this main event, because I think he needs a tune-up fight. I think he needs to get back in there and kind of, see where he's at with, that beating that he took. I just think Lombard, not being on the stuff that he was, the supplements that he was on before, the ones he bought at GNC or whatever, and all that stuff, that beating that he took, I think all those are factors, and I think Dan Henderson is strong enough and still, relevant enough to be able to put away Lombard. So I think that's what's going to happen here. Dan Henderson finally lands the H-bomb that we've been waiting for. He wins.
Man.
You know what? I got to say, I do fucking love MMA. would you have ever thought that like 2 years ago we would have been talking about the beating that Neil cocksucking motherfucking Magny put on Hector Lombard? Do you remember that fight? Do you remember what Hector did to Neil in that first fucking round? That goddamn Neil Magny. I gotta hand it to that prick. He is a tough character, man.
Yeah, he's tough as hell, for real. All right, moving on to another fight that look, this fight's the reason why this card is stacked, especially the main card. Poirier Green's also good and all that, and Hendo and Lombard's cool and everything. But this fight to me is what finishes off the stacked part of this card. We got Max Holloway, number 4, Max Holloway against number 5, Ricardo Lamas. Holloway's on the rise. It's a matter of time before he gets a title shot, the way I see it. Another guy he's another guy that went on the run after losing to McGregor. Just apparently you lose to McGregor and you're insanely good afterwards. Now, unless you're Dennis Siver. And so he's on an 8-fight win streak. All finishes except for 2 of them. It's insane, right? 6 finishes out of 8? It's insane. So has anyone improved more than Holloway? I don't think so. His hands are good. His ground game's improved. He's smarter. He's faster. He's quicker. With a big win here, Holloway, I think, stakes his claim for a shot at McGregor's title if he ever actually defends the damn thing, or the winner of Aldo Edgar for the interim title. Now, Lamas has fought Aldo for the title before. He lost the decision. The fight by decision, I believe. And Lamas showed he can hang with a world-class talent. But ever since that fight, he hasn't really done too much. So to me, that Aldo fight out of Lamas was a rise to the occasion type of deal. Now, he has a chance to put himself back in contention with a win over Holloway, who is on fire right now. Dave, does that happen? Does Lamas beat Holloway in this fight?
And number 4 against number 5. This is a sick bout, like you said. It kind of caps off, the stack. The way this card was building up. I mean, having BJ fall off on it, Weidman falling off, it's still a really legit card. This matchup here, Holloway on a real long streak. Great matchmaking by the UFC. I mean, Ricardo Lamas definitely deserving of this fight, as well as Holloway. 8-fight streak for Holloway. It's hard to believe. I don't know what year it was. It's got to be 3 or 4 years now. Dustin Poirier, I remember, is the only guy to actually finish Holloway by submission, I think, a couple years back. So since then, he's never been finished since then. He's had some decision losses, but title contender with win, absolutely. I see Max Holloway fighting for that belt real soon. They got to give it to the guy. His only loss is what Conor Bermudez, so that's why I think Max Holloway gets the job done. Could happen in any round, but I see him finishing the fight. Not so early, maybe second or third round. I see Max finishing the fight, though.
Yeah, Fred, what do you think about this fight, man?
Yeah, I pretty much agree, man. You know what I like about Max Holloway, man? He has very deceptive punching power. He kind of looks like he's got little skinny arms, but he be fucking people up when he punches you, man. Like, it hurts. You can tell. He be hurting guys. I think Ricardo Lamas has pretty much got one shot to win this fight. I mean, obviously, he's one of those tough kind of wrestlers that can hit you with an overhand and hurt you. But I highly doubt he really wants to strike with Max Holloway. Max Holloway's boxing is going to be fucking worlds better than Ricardo Lamas. Ricardo needs to get him against the cage and get the takedown. He's going to have to out-wrestle Max Holloway. I think that's what this fight comes down to. Can he out-grind him and can he out-wrestle him? Because he sure as shit can't out-strike him. And no, I don't think he can. I think Max Holloway is the real deal. Even though you pricks never try to give my boy no credit for beating his ass a long time ago on a bum knee, Max Holloway is the real fucking deal. And I think that all he's got to do is avoid the takedowns, which, after the first few minutes, I think he'll see coming from a mile away. And I agree, man. I think that he'll probably get like a late second round, early third round TKO finish.
All right, Jesse, round it out. Who do you think wins this one, man?
Poor Ricardo the Lamas, man. He's getting a raw deal here. I think I kind of agree with Fred, and I kind of disagree with you. I don't think that Ricardo Lamas can really threaten him, even if he does take him down. Because Holloway is slick, man. He's able to get back up. He's able to fight off his back. I just, you kind of start putting people like, little columns and seeing where someone, matches up better or here and there. And the only place that I see Ricardo Lamas having the advantage is the power. He's able to knock dudes out, knock dudes silly. And that's about it. Max Holloway, he took some really heavy shots from Conor. He's taken some big heavy shots, and he just keeps coming forward. He's real slick. He avoids a lot of the damage most of the time. Even if he gets caught, he's not going down. And to me, it just kind of seems like Ricardo's got a puncher's chance of winning And I just see more ways where Holloway is going to be able to neutralize that power and really just beat him up. I think Holloway is going to run away with this one, and really, I think this is a coming out party for Holloway. I think it's kind of a showcase. People are going to be like, wow, really impressed, and I think a lot of people are going to become fans of Holloway after this fight.
They should already be fans of him now. I was a fan of him when he fought McGregor and took him to decision, even though afterwards came out McGregor busted his knee, so that kind of made sense. But
unfortunately, look at the schedule right now, like the the open workouts and stuff. You know, not a lot of push for Max Holloway, not a lot of push for Ricardo Lamas. You know, not a lot of talk from the casual fans. You know, and the UFC. But I think after this fight, people are going to be impressed.
You know what? I hope so. And the thing is, I think the reason for that's the whole UFC 200 thing has taken over like any kind of push from the UFC, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, catching up on some YouTube comments here. Andrew Reed is picking Lombard and Holloway, so he's kind of falling in line so far with everyone's picks. Now, on to the co-main event, 5-round fights in the bantamweight division for the title. Champion Dominator Cruz defending against Uriah, the California Kid Faber. Cruz is finally back in his place as champion. Now, we know, Goldie's he said it a billion times in the last fight against TJ. Cruz earned a title back that he never lost in the cage. Fucking, he loves saying that shit. And, Cruz's game is movement, quickness, cardio, hitting you and getting at a dodge before you hit him back, right? His footwork is so good, it looks like he's about to break dance in the middle of the octagon every time he moves. And he's had to come back from injuries repeatedly, we know. He's only fought like 3 times in about 5 years, something like that, 4 years. And he showed that he showed that he was back against Takeya Mizugaki, and then that he's the same old dominator versus TJ Dillashaw. Now he takes out Faber for the 3rd time in his career. Faber gets title shots like just because it's weird, right? Every big fight, look, the knock on Faber is that he chokes in big fights, right? He's a talented wrestler. He has a mean overhand right, and a guillotine. So and the guillotine's really good to make his opponents silly before they even tap. Now California Kid is one of the more popular fighters in the UFC. And he's been kind of shunned due to his relationship because of the whole Team Alpha Male thing. Now we know guys from Team Alpha Male have been leaving, and people start going, oh, it's because Faber can't lead a team and all that other shit. So it might be true, might not be. You get all the nicknames out there: Team Alpha Fail, Team Alpha Bail, all that other stuff. It's all fun with them, I guess. But Fred, man, does Faber get the upset, or is it going to be same old Cruz making it look silly?
I mean, I don't really understand how you argue that Faber does win this fight. Listen, could he win it? Sure. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? I didn't expect that cute little prick Cody Garbrandt to come out and fucking destroy the Brazilian homeboy fucking last weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nah, hey, listen, I saw Cody get fucking straight starched in one of his amateur fights, like fucking slept. So I took that shit and ran with it. My fucking point is, you never fucking know exactly what's going to happen. But Dominic Cruz is the man. He has bounced back from injury unlike anybody else has. He's probably got the best footwork we've ever seen in MMA. And I tell you what, man, he's grown on me. I didn't love the way he fought at first. I'm usually a finish fan. You know what I'm saying? I really don't care how you get it done. I like to see fights get finished. And he's like notorious for not finishing fights. But I got to give it to him, man. He is artistic in the way he moves, and it has grown on me. And Faber's predictable, you know what I mean? Like their last fight went pretty much, I think, exactly how this one's going to go. Faber's tough. He's definitely going to be competitive. He's not going to get starched out easily or quickly. But at the end of the day, I think that Dominic Cruz is going to have better footwork. He's going to stick and move. Faber's never really going to be able to get a hold of him. And then in the small instances where he does, Dominic's good enough to just get the fuck away. The reality is that one time where he caught him with that guillotine, I never want to call nothing lucky, but it was lucky.
Yeah.
He caught that motherfucker when he was young and inexperienced. That's just not going to happen again. 9 times out of 10, Dominic Cruz wins this fight by a pretty lopsided decision.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that as well. Jesse, what do you think about this one, man?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. And I think the big difference that we're going to see here, if you notice over the past few fights that Uriah Faber has had, he's not the same. He's lost a step. He used to be able to run through these lower level competitors, and to me, the big indicator was when he went up against Frankie Edgar. To me, it looked like Uriah Faber was just standing still, and Frankie Edgar just was literally running circles around him and just tagging him from everywhere. And after that fight, he gave an interview and he said that he was too fast for him. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Dominic Cruz hasn't lost that step, and I think he's just going to be so much quicker than Faber. He's just going to, just run around him, punch him from all these different directions, and Uriah Faber's going to be standing, asking his coaches, like, where is he at? Where is he coming from? And he's just going to get eaten alive here. It could be competitive. I just don't see it. I just think that Father Time has finally caught up with Uriah Faber here. I think his extensive career is too much for his body, and I think he's just lost that step.
Yeah, and Faber's 7 years older than Cruz, Dave. I mean, no one talks about the fact that he's 7 years older than Cruz. And he's got a lot of miles on him now. Now, Dave, you tell me. The only good thing I saw out of Faber in that Edgar fight was the one knee he landed on Edgar when Edgar went in there for a takedown. He's not going to get that lucky with Cruz, I don't think. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in a rematch like this. I mean, two guys that have this long rivalry, almost 8 years going out. It always favors the younger guy, and this time around, it's Dominic Cruz, and that's the guy. Like we're all saying, there's ring rust, but when it comes to Dominic Cruz, we've seen what he did. Came in there, stepped his game up, went right back in the mix against T.J. Dillashaw, takes the title. Uriah was real critical about his conditioning, how he looked in there. That's kind of weird how he was commenting about all his back fat and all that stuff. But I seen Dominic's recent training regimen. He's in superb condition. So is likewise is Uriah. So Eric Del Fierro versus Master Tong. So I think Dominic Cruz gets in there, and I think the only way Faber wins this fight, if he does have a chance, and if he hurts Cruz, is attacking with kicks. I think he's going to take a lot from T.J. Dillashaw's fight with Cruz. I think he had some success with kicks late in that bout. I know Cruz had some sort of like a heel injury or something, also adding to like the effects of those kicks, what he claimed after the fight. But I think if anything, Uriah Faber is going to target the legs, try to implement some kicks, try to implement a clinch on Dominic Cruz and go from there. But that's if he can catch him, though. That's the thing. Dominic is like Jesse was saying, he hasn't lost a step. He's on top of his game right now. I think Cruz gets in there and does what he does. It goes the full 5 rounds. I think it's a little bit more. It's not going to be as, the people that I say the last fight is really, Dominic won, Uriah won. This time around, Dominic's going to make it known that he's the champ, and he's going to put Uriah Faber away on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you guys. I'm taking Cruz in that one. I don't think Faber has a chance unless he lands something lucky. That's the only way, right?
Yo, listen. Before we jump from this fight, man, if Dominic Cruz does win this fight, like we all assume he will, is Mighty Mouse his biggest fight out there after this?
Well, he already beat him.
I know he already beat him, motherfucker, but he already beat Uriah's funny ass too.
That's true.
If after he beats Uriah, like what else is there? Like who's he gonna fight at 35?
Ooh, let me pull up the rankings real quick. But yeah, what's up?
I mean, in my opinion, it's a rematch with TJ and then Asun Sao. Asun Sao hasn't had a crack yet, and he put a beating on TJ too. So I think those are the only two guys. Why are you hating on Asun Sao?
Because Asun Sao
actually heard
Hector was a pup.
Dave, what were you saying, man?
Yeah, no, I was going to talk, just touch on a little talk. I seen an interview with Marcos Viegas, Fight TV. He was talking to Dominic Cruz, and Cruz is commenting a little bit on the McGregor, stuff that's going on. So he's like, nobody's talking about me and McGregor. So he mentioned that he's open for a super fight, and I don't know what weight they meet at, but he did mention that in a recent interview. So I just want to let it be known that's been said. So.
Easy, Dominic. You're goddamn right nobody's mentioning you for Connor. Connor's talking about Floyd and Nate, Jack. You're cute and all, but you're stick with Mighty Mouse down yonder.
Oh, man.
That's what I'm saying. Floyd and shit, like, yeah, I don't blame him for throwing his hat in the race, but that's a fucking pipe dream if I've ever heard one.
We'll see. Fucking, but Brian Carroll making his case for a title shot.
What the fuck is this? You know what? Yeah, fine, give it to him so we can finally see this prick take a beating too. Right, Jesus fucking Christ! Can this guy lose already?
I know, right? I was bummed out about Aljo, but that first round was hilarious. After that, it was just depressing. All right, moving on to the next round here. The next fight, of course, the main event of the evening. We got Luke Rockhold taking on number 4 Michael the Count Bisping. It's supposed to be Weidman. Weidman gets injured, and everyone shouts out Jacare, right? Well, Jacare got hurt at 198. Of course, Michael Bisping's sitting right there with that big fat Anderson Silva decision win, and he goes, "Hey, what about me?" They give him the fight. They say, "Fuck it, go ahead." Even though you got starched against, by Rockhold just recently. Now, Fred, I can see your face, man. What do you think about this fight?
A whole lot. I'll tell you that. Listen, man, I will give that cockeyed prick one thing. He knows how to sell a fight. There's no reason why we should give a fuck about this fight, because I think it's obvious that nobody's got the balls to pick Bisping in a rematch, judging by how the first one went. But you got to love the way Bisping tells it. He poked me in the eye and then he cheated. He always paints the fucking picture to make it seem like he's got a chance in the fucking rematch. So, listen, like you said, Jacare wasn't an option. Chris Weidman gets hurt. Bisping's going to sell the fight. He is going to get snuffed. Make no fucking mistake about it. But fuck it, right? It's cool. He gets his title shot. He's going to sell the shit out of this fight. I can't wait for the weigh-ins. I'm glad that Bisping is getting his shot. As far as this fight goes, I see no way that Bisping wins this fight. I still don't buy that his fucking eye doesn't hinder his vision. I still don't think that motherfucker can see correctly. I just don't buy it. I still think that he fucking sees a little improperly. He still be getting clipped with shit. Although, I gotta hand it to him. His boxing did look good against Anderson Silva. All things considered, he actually was winning that fight until Anderson caught him with that sneaky little knee, which I gotta hand it to Anderson. That was fucking cute. You don't be looking at the ref, Mike, even with your bad eye. Not when you're in a good fight. But he was winning that fight up until then. He was legit outboxing Anderson Silva. But, man, Luke Rockhold is a fucking beast, right? This fucking dude, other than fucking juiced up fucking Vitor doing spinning Ryu kicks, ain't nobody really came close to fucking with goddamn Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold's going to steamroll him, man. He's fucking bigger. He's stronger. He does what Michael Bisping does, but a lot more effectively. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He's a better striker. He finishes fights more. He's a very competent grappler. What the fuck is Bisping going to do to win this fight? You know what I mean? Like, I think instead of getting submitted this time, I think he'll TKO Bisping in the second or third round and look fucking impressive doing it.
Look, man, I'm with you. Now, Andrew Reed's, of course, Andrew Reed picked Cruz, of course, right out of the way, but then he puts in capital letters with a bunch of exclamation points, Bisping. Again, because he has to, not because he actually likes Bisping. He doesn't. But there's an Englishman fighting for the title. He's got to go for his boy. Dave, what do you think about this fight? Yeah, of course. I'm gonna go for Kane even if I think the guy's gonna kill him. So I mean, like in a rematch against Verdum, I still take Verdum, but I'm gonna pick Kane. But I think Verdum probably won't beat him. But anyway, moving on.
Right.
Dave, what do you think about this fight, man? We got the guy coming off. Look, Bisping keeps saying, I wish I could have 2-week camps for everything. Rockhold has been on point the whole time. It looks like he's not injured. Of course, we never know for sure. But to me, look, I don't see any way Bisping wins. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Rockhold's laser focused. I mean, it's crazy to think that Rockhold, every single fight he's been in has been finished. I mean, with the loss to Vitor, besides that, I think Tim Kennedy and Jacare are the only fights that he's gone to decision on. So rule out that this fight goes to a decision. If Bisping lands some crazy shot early in the fight and happens to hurt Rockhold, maybe he can drag him into the late rounds, but I doubt we'll see that. One thing I want to note about Bisping, I mean, if the fight does go like to the later rounds, he could become like the #1 guy, minutes logged in the octagon. He'll break the record, and I think with a win, I think he ties the UFC record as well. But those two are going to be hard to accomplish in this fight. I think Luke's, like I said, laser focused. His fights just don't go to a decision. He finishes the job. I think Luke. He said you don't want to submit him, sort of like last time. I think he's more than capable, but I see him actually getting the submission on Bisping first or second round. I think that's how the fight plays out. I think he hurts him bad with kicks. I think he takes advantage of the position, puts him out, guillotine submission, armbar, anything. He's gonna take Bisping out rather easy.
Yeah, and look, Mike Jarvis is coming at this with the just want to watch the world burn kind of attitude, because he goes double upset, so he's picking Faber and Bisping, and then he says double upset, then the UFC sells to Bellator, like fucking light the world on fire. That's kind of what he's talking about.
Yeah, sniff some more glue, you crazy prick, you.
Hey, Bellator. All right, Jesse, man. What?
Or before that, I'm sorry, I wanted to, nobody brought up really the headbutt, like with the first fight. Do you think that was a real big factor? I mean, we all know the outcome of what happened. What do you guys think about that headbutt that took place in their first bout, though?
Jesse, go ahead, man.
It didn't fucking help Bisping, I tell you that. Fuck.
Yeah.
Man, okay, so the smart pick is gonna be Rockhold, right? So here I go. I'm picking Michael Bisping.
God damn it.
And I'll tell you why.
You just ruined our kumbaya, motherfucker.
Not just the fact that Michael Bisping, he's a tough bastard. He proved it in that Anderson Silva fight. He proves it every single time. He can take those shots. He has the cardio to outlast most people. You look at the fights that he loses, he doesn't lose them like by a lot unless he, Dan Henderson lands that huge shot, or Vitor, PED'd off his rocker and he, kicks his eye off or whatever. If you look back to that first fight, Michael Bisping with his pretty decent striking was keeping Luke at a distance. He was doing a lot of good things up until he got that headbutt, and then his world kind of changed. But I really think that Michael Bisping has the better boxing to really do something here in this fight, in this first round, the second round, and I think he's going to be able to change things up enough that Luke Rockhold's going to be I think he's going to get caught with his pants down. The other thing is that Luke Rockhold is already looking ahead. He's already talking about Weidman. He's already talking about New York. He's already talking about other things, and that's where a lot of things worry me. When a champion starts basically writing off who he's about to fight, and he starts looking ahead, and he starts making matches in his head when he really shouldn't. Because, believe it or not, Michael Bisping's still a dangerous fighter. Whether you want to admit to or not, he's still a guy that'll beat your ass if you take him lightly, and he'll drown you in those later rounds if you don't have your cardio on point, or if you leave him around in the fight for too long. He's gonna make you pay for those mistakes. And I think that's where Michael Bisping is gonna win. That's how I see it going. I think Luke Rockhold is too confident, and he's not going to take it as seriously as he would have coming into this fight. If this had been the fight originally, it'd be a complete blowout. But I think coming in such late notice, I think Luke Rockhold thinks he has this in the bag. He's probably not going to adjust anything, and he keeps talking about it's going to be something spectacular. Well, yeah, it's going to be something spectacular because Michael Bisping's going to take that title.
Look, man.
Go ahead. Just give it to me.
Here's the thing. And first of all, about the headbutt, I think it definitely helped. The outcome, right? Now I don't see it happening again, but I also don't think it's gonna matter this time around. Now, Jesse's right. This goes all 5 rounds. We could see Bisping drown Rockhold and make it a very if it doesn't obviously if it doesn't get finished, but we could see Bisping make this a very hard decision for the judges, right? And we hate when judges have to actually do their job. It's fucking awful, right? We hate that shit. But I just don't. I know. Look. I like upsets. I'm not in any corner here. I'm picking Rockhold because Rockhold's a bad motherfucker. If Bisping wins, I'll be happy about it. I'd be cool. I like Bisping. I've liked Bisping forever. But it's just hard for me to see. And Andrew Reid saying you will all be eating your words on Sunday, except for Jesse, obviously. But
I was like, even me? What?
no, talk about you. But I just don't. I look. What? Maybe catch Rockhold early with something and make it a really rough fight. But Bisping, look, I'll say this about Bisping. If you leave the door even that much crack for him, even that little bit, okay, Bisping can and will take advantage of that. And that's a dangerous thing about Bisping is he will, like Jesse said, drown you if you leave an opening. So Rockhold's got to come in, leave all that talk and all that showboating out, and just finish the fight and move on, right? But if he leaves it open, man, Bisping has a shot, for real. So
you know what I would do if I was fucking Bisping?
What?
I would send some fucking hooers over to Luke's hotel room the night before, like 3 of them. One of every different flavor, a fucking Mexican broad, a black broad, a white broad. And I bet your Playboy Luke let him right on in. Come on in, ladies. Michael who? What am I doing tomorrow night?
That's the move. Kill his legs before he even shows up to the fight.
What are you, John Jones over here sending? Wasn't it John Jones that was sending like Popeyes to DC or some shit?
I think
pizza and all this stuff.
That's fucking epic. John Jones does not get half the credit he deserves. That's fucking gangster. Here, you fat cocksucker, have some chicken.
Dude, you see that exchange they're having back and forth now? Was it DC had that? DC's a weirdo. He put like a fucking like weird John Jones busted face sleeve over a tie bag, and he was like beating it up or whatever. And John Jones sees it, reposts it on Instagram, and puts "I'm balls deep in your head." Like that to me was like an epic. It was like to me it was. I read it and I laughed my ass off. It was like the most epic line I've read in forever. From John Jones, I'm balls deep in your head. Like, what the fuck? Like, if you're DC, what do you say to that? Yes, no, what the fuck? Like, that's insane. It's hilarious.
Listen, he's right. He's right, man. DC's like that guy. He's like that good guy that doesn't like not being liked. I think the fact that the fans don't like DC is like, what the fuck? This guy fucking snorts coke, cheats on his wife, almost kills a fucking pregnant lady, and you picture
That
tyranny.
was so sad, guys. That was so sad. I was there for that conference. That almost made me cry. I almost wanted to just walk up there and like take the mic away from DC and be like, "That's it. Just don't talk anymore. Just stop." Because he kept he was pleading with everybody. Stop. You guys are really cheering for him? Really? Come on. I'm the good guy. And I'm like, oh my God, DC, just shut up. Just stop.
Like, I know DC's a huge like pro wrestling fan, but he'd be the worst. Like everyone would hate him. Like for real, he'd be like, what was it? I'm pretty sure everyone hates John Cena, right? Am I right on that? Because
I've got no idea.
Well, we know because fucking they have the videos on YouTube and it's people sing like his song comes out and they sing with the song John Cena sucks, and I found it to be hilarious as fuck because he's supposed to be like the good guy, right? I think. So yeah, I don't know, it's weird. All right, last comments from you, Jesse. What UFC 199 will be? I don't know. Yeah, how about this? An adjective to describe what UFC 199 will be like. Jesse, go.
Upsets. I'm gonna go with
All
upsets.
right. Fred, what do you got?
Fuck, man. It should be exciting, right? It should be a good card. There should be a lot of finishes and shit, but a couple fights give me pause, man. Like the co-main event. It should be a really good fight, but I can low-key see it being a slight snooze fest. So I'm going to err on the side of positivity and say exciting.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, I think it could be a fantastic card. I think the top end of the card is going to get produced. I think we may see one title change hand, but absolutely, I don't think two of them in one night. I think one of them, there's a good chance.
All right, I'm gonna go with surprise.
Favorite fight. Favorite fight. What's everybody's favorite fight on the card?
I'll. You know what? I'm gonna go with. That's a tough one. Shit. Damn. You know what? I'm gonna go with Holloway Lamas. Dave, you wanna go?
Yeah, I'll go with Clay Guida and T City. I think they're gonna go to war, so I think that's gonna be an interesting fight that not many people are talking about, but we all know that's gonna be an interesting one for sure.
All right, Jesse.
Damn, I gotta admit that is a good pick, but again, I'm a homer for my people, and I look out for my people, so I always pick my people. So I'm gonna be excited for that main event. Watch Bisping wreck shop and ruin everybody's plans.
All right, what about you, Fred, man? What's your favorite fight?
The guy that I'm most excited to watch fight, I think, is T City, man. I'm really interested in him. I love guys that got the gimmicky type style. I'm super interested for that fight. But yeah, man, the main event, man, Luke Rockhold. I mean, can this guy come out and stay focused and finish Bisping and move on to bigger and better things, or will Bisping finally get his shot of glory? The main event. It's always the most interesting.
All right, gonna do a little quick check of the headlines. Make sure nothing has changed in the last fucking hour and change. I think tough whatever season they're on. It should be on right now. So
hey Fred,
if you want to watch that.
Yo,
you live in kind of a hectic city. What did you think about that? What was it? That fighter and her coach that got like robbed or something or shot in what was it in Peru?
Valentina Shevchenko. She didn't get shot, but she was in a shootout where her coach, apparently one of her coaches or her coach. They were witnessing a robbery, and her coach pulled out a gun and fired on these motherfuckers, and they fired back, and her coach got shot in the abdomen. Apparently, the coach is fine, and so is Shevchenko, but that's a trip. But he's right. You're kind of in a little bit of a chaotic city. What do you think of
that? Yeah, that's fucking pretty crazy. I think I would have fucking kept my gun in my holster. Jesus Christ. Everybody with their fucking guns is like the Wild Wild West out there, man. I'm a fucking pussy, though, Jack. Somebody fires off a gun, I'm in the van. And Chef Cinco, you are a fucking meal ticket. Get your pretty little ass in the van, too. Neither one of us need to get popped out here. Where were they at in Peru? I tell you,
Yeah.
I don't fuck around third world countries. If you're in a third world country and you hear a gunshot, fucking duck. I don't care if you do have a gun. Don't fucking whip it out. Cats over there are fucking used to shooting guns. You fucking run.
No, that's for sure, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our UFC 199 pre-fight show. You can follow Jesse at Spawat1983. 83? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then friend is at Kirby_MMA. Dave, what's your Twitter?
Dave's MMA Brief on Twitter.
And where else can they find you?
ESPN Radio, 1017 The Team. It's a local station here out of Albuquerque. I usually tweet the links for the shows. I got some great guests coming up leading up to UFC 200. I got Landon Bonetta, I got Phil Hawes, Brandon Gibson. I got some great guests lined up. So stay tuned for that for sure.
All right, yeah, so follow the homie Dave and get on those shows. You can follow me at, wow, I'm stoked, at Elaw31. Of course, the page is Crossroads MMA. And, yeah, it's going to do it for us. So thank you, fellas, for joining, especially Dave, Fred for jumping on, Jesse, as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. So enjoy 199, and, yeah, we'll see you next time.